No, no, other than that, yes, sir. But that's after. Yes. So they have to support them. Goes a year. He left back to the US. I know them very well. I have been seeing them in conferences for. The following entire just last year. And now the grandchildren are now working. Yeah, the G3 is now coming into customer service. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
Test. Here. Come in good. I'm not good in cook mutton, so. I promise. Anywhere up your cats and Secretary for Tamil Rights Group, TRG. Thank you for coming to our information. I think we should just stand for a moment of silence. And then... Just some housekeeping. If we could put our phones on silent. We are live streaming the event for some members to watch, so it could be a distraction. If you could please put your phone silent, I will do the same. There are washrooms further down this way. What are the emergency exits in case of anything?
Yes, just past the washrooms.
Okay,
Just there.
the staircase, emergency exits, just in case of an emergency, not to use the elevator. And so I wanted to thank you again for joining us today. Kudula, my presentation, the slides are in English, so my presentation will be in English. But if you have any questions or need any clarification in Tamil, please don't hesitate to stop me and answer the questions. So either we can go through my presentation. It is a very informal session, but I would love to take questions from everyone who's here today. So the purpose of today's information session is, one, to give you a background on who we are at Tamil Rights Group and the work that we've embarked upon. In the last 18 months to less than 2 years that we've established as an organization, I'd like to highlight the work that we've completed and the projects that we've worked on. I'd also like to outline the workflow or the projects that we are anticipating for the rest of 2022 and our work plan for 2023 going forward, our operating budget, and what we'd like to see, and who and what type of help and support we need from our community. This is a series of information sessions. We had one 2 weeks ago in London, in UK, in New Malden, which was very successful. We're looking to establish a UK chapter. We have a few very active members here in Canada, but we need to grow. As I go through the presentation, you'll see we're doing a lot of work. We're involved in many projects. We are very limited in resources in manpower or women power, I can say. And so I'm looking to give you more information about our work so that we can grow our network and be able to sustain the very important work that we started at Tamil Rights Group. So our mission at Tamil Rights Group is basically, we are an advocacy group like many organizations out there, but our main focus is to achieve justice and accountability for Elam Tamils by taking forward what we call transitional justice, using a process which we have coined as lawfare. We firmly believe as an organization, our members believe, that addressing previous violations and grievances is very important to move forward in a very meaningful manner. We're working to enscribe a political, social, and economic rights and the protection of all human rights and freedoms of nations and targeted communities in Elam. And we want to strengthen the civil space in Elam and create a platform for robust discourse and engagement. So that's really important to strengthen civil society and enabling and empowering local communities to develop and implement their own political solutions. So as an organization, we don't have a set political aspiration or, if you want to say, a definition of what a political solution looks like, but we want to be able to enable the local community to determine that for themselves. So that is the mission of Tamil Rights Group. Our values is centered on, as I mentioned, political, social, and economic aspirations. Though our work doesn't focus on economic development, we feel that it does go hand in hand, so it is a partnership, but we focus on the political aspect, aspirations of Tamil and Tamil-speaking people in Elam. We want to pursue lawfare to achieve justice and accountability, for genocide and recognition for Elam Tamils. Though our current work doesn't focus on that at the moment, that is the end goal of the work that we're doing, recognition for genocide, and that is very important to what we're doing. We want to honor the collective right for self-determination for Elam Tamils, and the recognition of a Tamil nation is also very important in our values. We want to preserve and propagate the Tamil language and heritage. And what's very interesting about the way Tamil Rights Group is set up is an intergenerational transfer of knowledge. So our members are younger generation, which I don't call myself that younger generation anymore, but younger than myself, older than myself, and we have over 40 years of experience within the political arena, fighting for justice and accountability. So that transfer of knowledge is very important to the next generation to ensure that the struggle continues and that the work continues beyond my generation and others. We also want to partnership, and we are partnering with various justice movements, indigenized, racialized, and politically oppressed people around the world. So not just with the Tamil community. As you'll see in some of our work, we have made partnerships with many other organizations. So at Tamil Rights Group, we have three main pillars of work. So all of the work that we do will fall under one of the three categories. The first one being leveraging international law. So this is looking at law that is available to us in the international courts and the international arena, and figuring out ways in which we can leverage the law that's available to us to achieve transitional justice for Indian Tamils through lawfairs, what we're calling this new, the new process. Our second area of focus is expanding global diplomacy. A lot of the work that we do is really contingent on the fact that other nations and state parties and countries support our initiatives. So we are communicating with various countries, heads of states, different NGOs, organizations. So expanding global diplomacy is very important to renew a geopolitical participation and identify new areas of support. So that is our second stream. And our third pillar at Tamil Rights Group is local initiatives within the North and East and upcountry is to defend civil liberties. And as you'll see, some of our projects are specifically in the North and East, is to establish a civil liberties union within Sri Lanka to support fundamental rights cases and for legislative reform. This is our organization. We are a registered non-for-profit organization in Markham, so a Canadian-based non-profit organization. Our executive committee consists of three of us in Canada, myself, Mr. Srinaran is here as well, and Mr. Punyadas is here as well. So we are the Canadian members, and we are all voluntary members, full-time jobs. We have other full-time jobs, but this is also a full-time job for us. And we have voting rights within the organization. We have consultants within our organization. Some of them are paid. I should mention some are now non-paid as well. For example, Charles Anthony Das, based in the United Kingdom. He's a special advisor for us, but he's a non-paid member with non-voting rights. Our legal team is headed by predominantly David Mattis and Sarah Teach on some of the legal opinions that we've worked on. They're our legal advisors. They are obviously paid. We have external counsel who we've retained, which is Jenny Shanmuganathan, and she was instrumental in the Bill 104 Genocide Prevention, Genocide Awareness Week constitutional challenge, which I'll get into some details. We have hired a lobbyist. So Jasker Sandhu runs an organization called State Strategy. He's our public relations and government relations officer. And then we also have an auditor who audits our books for accounting purposes. Our volunteers, again, non-voting members, within our various working committees, as you can see, spread throughout the world, mostly Canada members. We have a few members in the UK, and I mentioned we're getting more active in London. So we are looking to establish a chapter there. We have some very important members based out of India who are legal professionals, law students, masters in human rights, who are helping us very much in a lot of the legal work that we're doing. So that's very encouraging. And then we have a few members, Australia, Germany, Greece, Philippines, a few other countries as well. So it is a global network. And the hardest thing is finding a time to do a Zoom call with all of these different time zones is a challenge, but sometimes calls are at 2 in the morning or 4:30 in the morning, but we make it work. So that's the structure. And the other level below, which we are looking to establish, is a sustaining patron circle. So these would be individuals who don't have the time per se to contribute to Tamil Rights Group and our work, but financially are able to support our activities and on an advisory level provide some sort of support and guidance to us as well. So we have a few names. We haven't established this patron circle, but that's something we're looking to establish as well. So as I mentioned, we launched in January 16th, 2021 is when we officially launched our organization. Since then, I'll quickly highlight to you some of the things that we've accomplished. As you know, Canada was looking to appoint a new High Commissioner, Air Marshal Sumangal Yadayas. We submitted a legal opinion to the Government of Canada, giving reasons why he should be considered a person non grata or should not be allowed into the country for his war crimes and crimes against humanity. So we did an official legal opinion to the Government and Global Affairs. As I mentioned, in 2021, we obtained legal counsel to protect Ontario's Tamil Genocide Education Week. So in early 2021, we knew that there was a constitutional challenge against the Genocide Awareness Week Bill 104, and we retained legal counsel to look at our options, what we could do as an organization to help in that legal challenge. The main work, or the main thing that we did in 2021, so we established in January. By November of 2021, we submitted an Article 15 communication to the International Criminal Courts. So an Article 15 submission is where we ask the prosecutor to start an independent investigation into 3 particular crimes: against crime of deportation, persecution, and torture. Just briefly, I have printouts of the actual opinion if you're interested, but on a high level, I can tell you that the International Criminal Courts is governed by a Rome Statute, and countries that are signatory to the Rome Statute can be prosecuted under this court. Sri Lanka, however, is not a signatory to the ICC. However, what we did was we used the example or the situation of the Rohingya Muslims in Myanmar and how they fled to Bangladesh during that exodus. That crime of deportation, the crime of deportation itself ended in a state party, which was Bangladesh. So because the crime ended in a state party, the International Criminal Court was able to initiate a criminal proceeding. So using that same example as a precedent, we said that in 2009, during Muli Vaikal, people fled from the North and East to state parties like Canada, UK, Germany. And because of that, the crime of deportation ends in Canada, therefore can be held accountable in the courts. So it's almost a 45-page legal opinion that we've drafted. We've submitted it to the International Criminal Courts. We are waiting for a response. We got an initial response from the courts saying that they've received our submission. Now what we're doing is we are lobbying countries, and I'll get into that a little bit later, because if we get a state party referral, so a country like Canada or UK, if the government refers our legal opinion, we bypass a few of the steps in regards to the prosecutor initiating an investigation. So that's what our efforts are right now, is lobbying various heads of state to get that state party referral. So I'll get into a little bit more detail on that. That's just a high-level summary. If you're interested to learn more, we can talk later, but I don't want to get into too many specifics about that. And as any organization, commenting press releases on the various events that surrounding the Tamil issue and that is relevant to our work is something that we continue to do on a regular basis. As I mentioned, we've done many presentations with various organizations. I listed them all here. I will send a copy of this presentation to everyone afterwards, so you'll have the full list of all the organizations in 2021. These are actually just some of them that we've done seminars with, or webinars, or had meetings, joint meetings with. For example, Sri Lanka Campaign for Peace and Justice, Amnesty International are just a few. We've had stakeholder engagement meetings, and they were all virtual because of COVID in 2021. And officially, we've outreach to various governments. So Canada, obviously, that's easy to do because we're here. But we have outreach to political parties in India, Germany, Malaysia, UK, and in England as well. So that's something we continue to do. So 2022, this year, we've been busy as well. We filed an affidavit requesting Tamil Rights Group to be granted intervener status. So I mentioned Bill 104, the constitutional challenge. We worked with the Attorney General's office to see how we could support them in their case. And it was decided that as an intervener, we wanted to correct the factual records. So there were 2 parties who filed the constitutional challenge against Bill 104. One of the parties in particular, his factual affidavit had many historical inconsistencies. For example, he said there was nothing called the Sinhala Only Act, or there was no anti-Tamil rhetoric, or there was no discrimination of Tamils in the education system. And the Attorney General's office was not in a position and was not going to argue any of those factual arguments being made by the applicants. So Tamil Rights Group took it upon ourselves to correct that factual statement. We engaged with Professor Chandrakandan as our official expert witness, and he filed, so I filed an affidavit on my behalf saying that TRG wanted to intervene. And then I said that Professor Chandrakandan would like to be the expert witness. He was cross-examined by both the Attorney General, by both of the lawyers on both of the parties' side. And we just wanted to get into the court record the Tamil perspective. So we filed an affidavit, over 900 pages of evidence, publications, articles, UN reports, everything that we could find to dispute the facts. So there was a lot of work done in regards to that affidavit. All that information is available on our website, but if you're interested in reading Professor Chandrakandan's actual affidavit or access to the information, we can get that to you. It is a public record. You can access it in the courts, but if you want, we can give you a copy of that as well. And then obviously, as you know, the Ontario court upheld the constitutional validity of the genocide awareness bill. However, I don't know if you are aware, but both of the parties have now filed an appeal. So they are going to appeal the decision made by the Superior Court judge. And in the appeal process, what's going to happen now, there will be a 3-judge panel. So they knew that in the initial filing that one judge had no experience with constitutional law, and they were well aware that they were going to probably lose the case. So they were hoping that in a three-judge panel in the appeals court that they have a better chance. And so we are aware that both parties have filed, and that most likely we'll receive their affidavit in December or January, what they're going to say in the legal argument. And then Tamil Rights Group will continue to engage with our external counsel, Jeremy Shanmuganathan, and see, because we're already granted intervener status in the original case, we feel that we probably in the appeals process, it will be automatic. We're not sure yet. We may need to appeal or file again, but we will know later this year. But we will continue with the process we started. We can't abandon the effort. Yes. Go ahead.
So don't the judges get to decide whether they want to hear it or not, or is it just automatically going to hear it?
They're going to automatically.
Automatically.
Yeah. It's whether now they decide whether the parties, the interveners, will also be available to participate in the proceedings as well. So anyone can appeal.
Yeah.
Similarly, if the judge had upheld the that it was constitutionally invalid, then we would have appealed. In that case, they would have heard our
Yeah,
appeals.
I know that sometimes the appeals are not necessarily accepted based on what the criteria are. So this one, for sure.
Yeah, we've heard that no, it will be heard. And so what we've also heard, which I can share with you very confidentially, is the Sri Lankan coalition who has filed the case is short on funds, and they don't have money for the appeal process. They've had meetings with the Sri Lankan High Commissioner's office, who has agreed to get them some funds from the Sri Lankan government, and they're waiting to allocate resources accordingly before they file. So that's why their law firm is giving them some time until like December or January, so that they can get the funds to be able to do that. So I'm assuming they spent somewhere close around $500,000 to $1 million. It would be easily spent on the case itself. So I'm sure that they are scrambling for that. So again, in 2022, what we're doing now is, as you know, that there's an upcoming human rights session in Geneva in September. And in that session, organizations that have a particular certification, which we call ESOSOC certification, can submit a written submission to the United Nations Human Rights Council in regards to recommendations that they would like to see, or in regards to the human rights issue in Sri Lanka. As Tamil Rights Group, we don't have that certification. However, we partnered with another organization called the International Communities Organization. And with their certification. We have written we have a written submission which has already been filed at the United Nations for the upcoming UNHCR session, in which, and I can share the details of this in a few weeks. It's not public yet, so I want to just kind of keep it confidential. 7 recommendations we're making to the High Commissioner of Human Rights on what we'd like to see in terms of aiding and helping justice and accountability in the North and East. So we've outlined the current issues that are prevalent in the North and East, but we've made 7 major recommendations. And some examples are like having a special tribunal, appointing a special rapporteur for Sri Lanka. And so all of those details will be made public in a few weeks. We just filed on August 19th, and I need to keep it confidential until it gets published on the UN's website. So, but I will share that information. A delegation to attend the session in Geneva through another local organization. We've been able to secure some passes to officially attend, but unofficially we will also attend the sessions, and we're hoping to organize some side events in Geneva in regards to our ICC opinion. As I mentioned, we are looking for a country to sponsor our opinion, so a state party to the International Criminal Courts. And so we want to reach out to countries like the UK, Australia, Germany, to see if we can lobby some support in regards to our opinion. So there will be a team attending the session in Geneva, about 7 of us, and we just started planning the side session that we would be looking to host there as well. As you know, in 2021, the High Commissioner of Human Rights, she released her report. So this September, there will be another major report that's coming. And so we are very interested to see the wording or the language that's going to be used in that report. And so that's what we will be lobbying in Geneva for, some stronger wording in regards to accountability and justice. But from the 2021 report, what was established was an accountability project. They had earmarked or benchmarked some funds for a team. The team is 3 investigators, 2 lawyers. So there's about 7 or 8 people on the team. It's called the OHCHR Accountability Project for Sri Lanka. They are independent of the UN monitoring mission in Sri Lanka. They work separately, but we have engaged with the accountability project. And what they've now agreed to is, so their main goal is evidence collection. They are collecting evidence for crimes against humanity, war crimes. And so far to date, he's mentioned over like 8,000 records so far that they have. What they're willing to do for us is share their evidence with us for any prosecution that we are looking to engage in. So if the International Criminal Court, the prosecutor says, okay, we'd like to take your case, we need some evidence, they have agreed to be in communication with the prosecutor's office and share that evidence directly, because it shouldn't come through TRG, because then obviously that would taint the evidence, but they will share directly. Similarly, if we can find a country to initiate a universal jurisdiction case. So, for example, if we'd like to try an army general or somebody, we can initiate cases like in Argentina or a South American country. And that person, certain universal jurisdiction laws, the person who is being charged doesn't need to be in that country. So like we're trying to find Gotabaya in Thailand because he needs to be there. No, but if we could, there are countries and their universal jurisdiction laws where you can charge someone, they don't need to be in the country. Similarly, so if we can initiate a case like that and evidence is required, the Accountability Project has agreed to now share that evidence with any law firm or with any prosecutor's office, but we need to initiate that case. We need to find lawyers, we need to pay for these lawyers. So it's not that we don't have a case, we could file a case, our funds are limited. And so we're just waiting for the right opportunity to do that. So that's something that's happening with the Accountability Project. So in 2022, we also just recently in last, we filed a parliamentary petition at the House of Commons here in Canada. So like I mentioned, Canada is a state party to the International Criminal Courts, and Canada should take up the case. Like, it's just an obvious, but there are reasons why they won't do it. So we're a Conservative Party through a member of Parliament in Calgary. He filed a parliamentary petition for us in the House of Commons. And what the parliamentary petition does is it gives the Government of Canada 45 days, 45 in-session days, to give us a response. And we ask the question directly. This is our legal opinion to the International Criminal Court. Will Canada endorse this legal opinion? And so we are waiting. So what session starts, I believe, September 19th. And so shortly afterwards, we will get an official answer from the Government of Canada, yes, no, or the reasons why. Based on that, we will reevaluate the decision from the Government of Canada and decide how to proceed. But that's something we did earlier this year. We also collaborated with about 17 different NGOs to write a letter to the Attorney General in Singapore. As you know, the President was there recently, and so asking that Commissioner, and also to the High Commissioner of Human Rights to investigate the former President for atrocity crimes. Again, stakeholder meetings is something that we do on a regular basis. This year, we reached out to Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International. We regularly engage with many organizations and Tamil organizations as well. So Pearl, Tamil Diaspora Alliance, TGTE, all of them. We speak to anyone who is willing to speak to us. We have no limitations, no barriers. We are fully transparent with all of the work that we do. So we will speak to anyone who wants to engage with us. This year, we've done some great media work as well. We've had some prominent articles in the Toronto Star, National Post. The Canadian press is now calling us for quotations when it comes to the economic crisis or the political crisis. So that's really the work or the money that we've invested in our PR specialist. I'll be honest with you, monthly his charge is about $3,000. That's our really biggest operating expense right now, paying him. And he's been very successful in getting us these really prominent slots at the various print media, which is really important. And we think we need to engage in that, because when our name pops up on a Google search or in print media, when we're talking to like Human Rights Watch or Amnesty or any other organization, they'll quickly Google us, and if there's nothing, then we have no credibility. So early on we decided that it was important to invest in PR and our PR work, and I think it's definitely paid off. And some of the articles, just to mention, there was a major article in the Toronto Star about delisting of the LTT and the implications that it has on the Tamil community, younger generation. Myself specifically, I'll be honest with you, I've had a lot of trouble because of the stigma around the LTT, and assuming that everyone who supports the Tamil cause is a terrorist, and how it's impacted my career, my work, my travel. And so I had an opportunity to speak to the Toronto Star about that. You can read that article, and we quoted some other students who are heavily impacted by that. So again, that's a lot of the work that we do at Tamil Rights Group to shape the narrative and the story around the Tamil cause, which is very important to us. So that's 2022 in a summary. So like I said, we're very busy, but we have a lot more to do. This is what we'd like to accomplish this year and early into next year. Our legal team of law students and lawyers have been working on many legal opinions. We're just trying to craft the best way to submit when and timing. So we'd like to submit a legal opinion on enforced disappearances, and that would go to a UN treaty body. So again, if you're more interested in learning about the specifics about the legal opinion, please do reach out. I can give you more, like it's an Article 33 submission, but I don't want to get into too many details here, but we can definitely share all of that with you. So enforced disappearances, war crimes is one that we have a legal opinion ready, and we are working on crimes against humanity, a legal opinion on crimes against humanity. We do have a legal opinion on genocide. It's not ready in the sense we still need to vet the information and the evidence that we have. We don't think it is a strong enough case yet. So when we do submit any legal argument on genocide, we want to have a lot of consultation with the community, with different organizations, NGOs, and people who are really invested in the evidence collection to ensure that this is the right argument to make, because not to say it's all for nothing or one shot is it, but we don't want to fail at that. That is a major legal argument to make. We feel as an organization, we're not ready yet, but we will be, and that's what we're working towards. But when we're ready, we will be very confident that is a legal argument that we want to make in terms of genocide, and that we have the substantial evidence and supporting documentation to be able to present that argument. So that's something that we are constantly working on as well. In regards to our current ICC opinion, the opinion that we submitted was predominantly based on Canadian refugee case law. We included 3 witness testimonies. They were all citizens of Canada. But we are looking to do some supplemental submissions to the ICC, quoting different case laws, so from the UK, Australia. Indirect, direct deportation is the difference there. Again, if you're really interested to learn more, like my background is not a legal background, so I don't want to give you the misinformation, but from what I know, I can share that some people may be very interested to learn more of the specifics regarding the legal opinion. We can definitely get on a call to discuss that as well. So that's something that we're looking to do in the organization. So that was what we want to do in 2022 and 23 for leveraging international law. In terms of our second pillar, which I mentioned to you, expanding global diplomacy, we want to host Tamil Rights Days of Action. So these are like lobby days in Canada, so on Parliament Hill. We want to do one in London, so that's why we're looking to establish a chapter there. We started slowly engaging in the US with the State Department, so we'd like to do one there. And in India, we've made some key contacts in New Delhi, and so we'd like to send a team there to start lobbying efforts. We are doing it virtually, but nothing is as effective as being on the ground there and spending a few days there. So that's something we're doing. These are just some associations that we'd like to apply for consultative status and membership with. As I mentioned, the side session at the HR in Geneva, and then lobbying support for our ICC opinion, which we've also discussed. In terms of our third pillar, which is defending civil liberties, we'd like to establish a Tamil rights legal action fund. So this would be like a pro bono clinic, like a law clinic. So if there are individuals in the North and East or upcountry who have legal issues, who need legal representation, but don't have the financial resources to do so, we would support that. And so we have earmarked a certain amount of funds that we would put into this legal fund, and we would, with members on the ground there, be able to donate for defending human rights issues there. As I mentioned, for our genocide legal opinion, we do have an evidentiary archival project happening. There's someone who is kind of heading that one for us, so we want to continue collecting evidence for that. We want to have a virtual discussion series. This is more for the younger generation, but a witness to history. So, taking key events in the Tamil struggle, like for example, if it's like the 1983 riots, getting a guest speaker of an individual who was affected by the riots during that time, lived through it, what their experiences were, and so highlighting that. So we have a whole plan of what those key events are. If you're interested in participating in that, we can give you some more information. And then obviously working with the Sri Lanka Accountability Project, which I mentioned to you, we want to strengthen civil society in the North and East. They've asked us for our recommendations because they themselves can't go to the North and East. They got an official letter from the Sri Lankan government saying you're not welcome. So they can't go there to collect the evidence. They need to use partners on the ground to collect this evidence. And so they've told us, if we have somebody, for example, enforced disappearances, or if there's a witness who wants to give testimony, they can organize to take that person out of their town or village, extract them for a day or two to a third country, take their testimony, and then put them back into society without knowing as well. So they do have the infrastructure available to take witness statements and testimony. We just need to find people who are willing to do so. But it obviously, the main criteria is that their life is not in danger. Like they will first ensure that their safety, and then at some point, so it's working with partners on the ground and with the accountability project to take statements and evidence, to archive the evidence as well. So all this work sounds very good. I'll be honest with you, all of the work that we're doing right now is self-funded as in a few of us members are paying for everything that's happening. We've had some great donations from a few key members, but the majority of the work that we do, for example, the travel, going to Geneva, traveling to India, wherever, is all on our own dime. But this is an operating budget. It is a wish list of mine and of our organizations that if we want to fully function as a very efficient organization, we need to earmark these types of funds to be able to sustain our work. As I mentioned to you, all of our members are volunteer. We all have full-time jobs and families, but we also spend 15, 20, 25, 30 hours a week. I don't know where I find that many hours a week because I don't know that there's that many hours in a day, but we do find the time to contribute that many hours. But it's not sustainable. Like we can't keep going at this level. We need to expand our network. We need resources. We need funding to be able to, we should be able to pay and hire someone to do some of the very important work that we're doing. And I'll get into some specifics, but I don't want to run through the numbers, but I just kind of wanted to share with you how we've kind of budgeted what we would like to do. That's a big number, $582,000. It is a great wish list. It's not to say next year this is going to be our operating budget, but in a long term, short to long term, five years, maybe within 5 years, when we're fully functional, this would probably be what our operating budget would look like. But this is just to give you an idea of what's needed for the work. Some of these expenses are real expenses right now. All of the administrative, other than the office space, we pay for all of those. I mentioned our publicist, we pay for legal affairs, like our external, like Jenny for the Bill 104, like that's her job livelihood. We had to pay her legal fees. We have to pay David Mattis for his legal fees. So there are some real expenses that we are incurring right now, but nowhere close to the 582. I do have the accounting audited report from our last fiscal, I think it is. It's available if anyone is interested to see, but I think in the first operational year, we spent about $100,000, but everything has been accounted for. So if you're interested to see, you can take it. And just as a pie chart summary of the funds of that 582,000, 66% of that is for our advocacy work. Salaries and benefits is about 18, but I just to show that the majority of that money is going into the legal work that we're doing. So what do we need to continue? This is why we're having these information sessions, because we are burning the candle at both ends and we're finding it difficult. But not to say that we're going to give up, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is we could be so much more effective in the work that we're doing is if we could activate some of these operational activities. One, increase our membership and active members of TRG. We don't have enough, like I mentioned, I think we said we had about 11 really active members. We need way more than that. We need people who can contribute. So instead of me giving 30 hours of my week, if I can get 5 people to just give 5 hours of their week, that makes the load so much easier. So that's why we're looking for more people. I'm not expecting you to give 30 hours, but if you can give 5 hours a week, and I can find 5 people like that, we can really get moving on some of the work that we're doing. I mentioned the chapter in the UK, which we want to establish. We want to recruit an executive director. We know that our work is so important that we need to hire someone full-time to do this work. We can't continue to do it this way because things are not falling through the cracks, but we're not effective in our work. Like meetings with like Amnesty, Human Rights Watch, all of those organizations, like some weeks we could have like 4 or 5 meetings and it's hard to maintain all of those at the same time. So if there was someone who was a full-time job to do this, they could take all of those meetings at the same time and be able to do that. The law students that we have, I mentioned to you, we have 3 students from India who are masters or international human rights. We have some other legal law students. We'd like to be able to pay them for their work, some sort of stipend to cover their tuition or their living expenses in a certain level so that they can study and still give a lot of the contribution that they are giving. Right now, we're unable to do that right now. And so our first priority would be to pay the legal students that are volunteering because our work is legal work and without their help, we couldn't do a lot of the stuff we do. So that's a priority right now. Any funds that we do get, we'd like to allocate that. Having someone on the ground in the north and east, I myself, I can't go there, so there's nothing I can do there. A lot of us can't travel there anymore because of various reasons, but we'd like to find somebody on the ground, pay them to be our liaison with the Accountability Project or Amnesty's Sri Lanka desk or Human Rights Sri Lanka desk, engaging with civil society, but we need to pay somebody a salary in Sri Lankan in rupees, but again, until we are able to at least pay them for 1 year, we don't want to commit to that. We do have a few people now. We've covered their expenses, like we bought them a laptop or a cell phone. We've done some things like that so that they can send us evidence or send us testimonials or things like that, but nothing in the scale that we like to do is something that we want to do. Social media, very important, especially for the younger generation. We're looking for a social media coordinator who can be on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all of those things, and kind of connect and to get our message out there. We need an official writer and a translator. A lot of the work we do is letter writing, writing letters, press releases, translating. We'd like to have someone on board to do that for us all the time, because our work it never gets done in time, and we could do so much more if someone could sit down and just write for us. Everything we do is written correspondence with all of the organizations. I mentioned this patron circle that we'd like to initiate. We haven't done any official fundraising. We had a fundraising dinner last year in December, which was kind of just a start for us. But what we really wanted to do was we wanted to show the community our work and show that we are capable of doing the legal work that we want to do. And then we want the people to realize, yes, I should be contributing to this organization. If you start off an organization and you start asking for money without showing the proof of the work, I think it's hard to, our community is tapped out in terms of where they give money and how often. But I think you can see from just in the 18 months that we established our organization, it'll be 2 years next year, we've done a lot with very little resources. And I think that's a testament to our members, to our volunteers, and the hours that they put in and the work that they've done. So we are looking to implement a membership fee. So members, we think in order to sustain the work that we do, we need to have an annual membership fee. We have some examples of organizations who run like this. We think it's successful. We feel it's a model that will work. And so we looking and starting in September to implement an annual membership fee. And it will be tiered. Like, not everyone can give $1,000 a year as a membership. Students who want to be a member, maybe it's $10, $15, but just that little buy-in shows their contribution and their commitment to the organization, and we think that's really important. So we will be implementing that fairly soon. And then the biggest one is to hire a lawyer to implement a universal jurisdiction case. We have a few cases, what I would call cases that are really, really important that we could try in different jurisdictions, but we don't have the resources or the funds to hire the legal expertise to do that. So that's a priority for us. So we need volunteers. And so these are the different work streams that if you are interested or you know someone who would be interested in the work that we do at Tamil Rights Group, we need, and if you don't have a legal background, I don't, but I am interested in legal affairs. So I am a part of that committee. So legal affairs, social media is really important, as I mentioned. ULAM affairs. So if you have a lot of connections on the ground in the north and east, if you can travel to Sri Lanka and you feel it's safe and you'd like to do so, or just keeping a communication with NGOs, with the politicians there. Like I said, we are all working full time. We're not doing it enough. We're not doing it regularly enough. So we need to designate someone who would be very interested in ULAM affairs and who would like to be that kind of key contact. India affairs is another one. As I mentioned, we've made some key contacts with Indian politicians. We have some important high-level meetings set coming up, but we need someone to continue that dialogue. Like we've reached out to West Bengal, to Kerala, to the south, in New Delhi, but we need someone to kind of take that as a project, to kind of spearhead that, take a leadership role in India affairs. Information and research, again, maybe you don't like public speaking or don't like lobbying like I do or talking to people, but we could use your help in researching information, whether it's, for example, like we're attending the Geneva session, we need some intel on who voted which way, who is who, where can we, so we have students who are doing that research for us right now. getting key contacts, who we should meet with. So maybe that's something that you could do for the organization, or who in certain parties should we be talking to. So just gathering that research for us. Print media. So we'd like to get more articles published internationally in English and in Tamil. But again, we need someone, a resident opinions to write articles on the current situation, on accountability, on justice initiatives, from our viewpoint, from our perspective. We always get asked to get published in like law reviews or in different by different organizations. But again, just to have someone to be able to write all of those articles for us. If you are interested in lobbying various countries, would like to travel, or you do travel for work, or you are in Europe or different countries, and when you're there, like how I did, I went for a family holiday to London, but I set aside some time to do some of this lobbying work. Similarly, when I go to India, I set aside that type of lobbying. So if you'd like to do that with whether the core countries, UN core countries or other key countries, we've made some contacts, we can put you in touch. We just need someone to keep that regular contact with those countries. As I mentioned, we are looking to submit the genocide case to the International Court of Justice, but we need a sponsor country. So in the ICJ, the International Court of Justice, it is a state against a state, but we need to find that state. So again, a lot of lobbying work, lots of administrative work. Leanne will tell you that there's there in terms of filings and emails, that type of stuff. If that's something that you can do, an official publication writer, or maybe your background is fine. If you'd like to volunteer some hours or time just to record keeping, books, accounting, and things like that. So this is what we're looking for, volunteers. So if it's not you in the room here today, maybe it's someone you know, maybe it's family, friends within your network, that you can share this presentation. Like I said, there's no confidential information here. Very transparent with all of the work that we do. I will share a copy of this presentation, and this is what we are looking to recruit members to get involved in these activities right away. And that's what I'm asking for everyone here to get involved. So that's my official presentation. I apologize if I went a little bit too fast, or if you missed any details or are interested to learn more. But I'll open it up for any questions that anybody might have, or any comments. Be more than happy to engage. And thank you for listening. Any questions? Yes.
There's any particular reason why you're looking for a third country to refer our case to ICC?
Yeah, so if we get a state party referral, when the prosecutor takes up our case, they will, so there's certain steps that they need to go through, like a pretrial chamber process. And so the prosecutor needs to get approval from the pretrial chamber if it is a referral from an Article 15 submission.
I think it's all around, isn't it? The prosecutor chamber.
Yeah.
Actually, you approach prosecutor chambers to decide whether it can be sent to trial chamber.
Yes, but if we get a state party referral.
But state party, you don't need to go through the.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
So why you are not taking that third option?
You mean
why are you waiting for other country to refer your case?
No, whichever would happen first. We're doing both.
Both.
Yes, doing both. But if we can get a country, that would even just solidify our case even more, right? So that's why.
Because in the past 12 years, we had that issue.
Yeah.
There's no country, including Canada, was unwilling to refer our case to ICC. There is a valid reason for that.
But
and the first option is through Security Council.
Yes.
And we all know that Security Council is not going to happen.
No.
So left with one option. That option is approaching prosecutor chambers and submit cases.
Yes.
But I can tell you today, I checked the way it was filed. It's only 2 cases. There's one legal opinion with 300 evidences, but filed that one case.
Yes.
With 1 or 2 cases, prosecutor chamber will not decide to send that to the trial chamber.
This is the one you're talking, the Global Rights Compliance, GRCs.
Both. I've seen both legal opinion, which is yours and
Yes.
the other one.
Done the same way that the Myanmar case was done.
No, Myanmar is totally different though. That's what I'm saying. That case is totally different. But we don't want to get into that. But now my question was why we are not taking the easy way out, waiting for a country to refer.
We are asking them for a country referral.
Yeah, we are asking for last 12 years.
I know, but now what we're saying to these countries that we're approaching is, you've now, for example, Canada has made a strong statement on Ukraine and has referred the Ukraine situation to the, which has never happened before.
See,
Yeah.
Canada has also granted capacity building fund for Ukraine.
Right.
The
We're
war
not-
is not even
We're
over.
not- right.
You understand?
We
So,
know the
another case.
politics behind all of that. We know why some lives matter more than other lives. And
Now, my
we're,
question, then let's go back to the
Yeah.
original question. Why we are not taking of going through the submit as many as possible evidence so that they can refer you to trial chamber? Why we are not taking that step?
that's why if you look at the parliamentary that we filed in the House of Commons, it's not just,
No, let's stick with ICC.
yeah, with our ICC, we are asking the government to refer the issue of the International Criminal Courts.
Right.
And if you take a look at our
They said
petition,
no for years.
I know, but they haven't responded yet on Sri Lanka. There's been no answer, official answer to TRG. Anyways, I don't know if they said yes or no to other organizations, but we want to officially put it on record with the government of Canada, and we're going to hold them accountable to that
Well,
question.
we are spending so much money and a lot of people effort. Why don't we take that easy option that we have on the?
We're trying, we're waiting for an official answer from the government of Canada. We'll start there first, see what the government of Canada says, and then we'll replicate that in the UK and other state parties. We will do it. I'm not saying we won't do it, but we wanted to start in Canada because we have our network, our established members here in Canada. We have to start somewhere. I
Sorry
can't
for my
spread
question,
myself,
though.
yeah.
Sorry for my question,
No,
because in the last 12 years, all the organizations said we cannot go to ICC.
Well,
There are no options.
I know, there are
But there
options.
were options.
There were options, yes.
And even now, if we are not taking serious effort to go through that option, is there something stopping? anybody?
No, there's not. And I'll be honest with you, that's why TRG was formed predominantly. All of us in Tamil Rights Group, we were involved in many organizations who's tried many different avenues. Many of them failed or gone nowhere. And as a few together, said we need to try something different because the last 12 years, we've wasted time. It's time that's been lost. And so we are trying avenues. And it's not just the ICC. We need one case. We need to find one case in a universal jurisdiction in some country to prosecute one individual. That will open the floodgates to numerous prosecutions. So we just need to find that one case. And we're trying. I don't want to share all the details. Some we have emblematic cases that we're looking to pursue. I need to protect the confidentiality of the witnesses or the evidence per se. But if you want to get involved in the legal team and would like to.
No, we're already doing it, but I'm asking. you.
No, I get it. I totally understand. But if you want to take a look at some of the cases, we can do that.
No, I already checked the cases that was submitted.
No, not for the ICC. I'm talking about other emblematic cases that we have evidence that we are looking to file. But we just, like I said, if we file, we need to have a law firm ready to prosecute those cases, right? We don't have the resources to do that. And I don't want to mess up a case by starting something like, for example, GRC, the other organization that submitted the ICC. I understand that they don't have the funds to pursue their case anymore, so they've abandoned their case. They're not lobbying. They're not doing anything more with their legal opinion. But I don't want to be in that same position, so I'm going to be very cautious before we proceed.
Thank you.
With any legal submissions. Any other questions? Yes.
ஒரு தமிழாங்க இருப்பேன்
Oh, Tom.
வணக்கம் இந்த இவ்வளவு விஷயத்தை செய்தது தாண்டி தமிழ் ரைட்ஸ் குரூப்புக்கு வாழ்த்துக்கள்.
நன்றி.
மற்றது இவ்வளவு சேவைகள் இருக்குன்னு சொல்லியிருக்கிறீங்க, அனுசரி கேட்டிருக்கீங்க. அது என்ன செய்யலாமா? இதில் வந்து இங்கே தமிழ் நான் திரும்ப போவேன். தமிழுக்காண்டி நாங்கள் நாட்கள் சொல்லி இங்கே 2-3 அமைப்புகள் இதனை அவையில் நீங்கள் இந்த தேவைகளை அணுகினீங்களா? இல்லைன்னு அவையில் செய்யலாம்னு சொல்லி அதிலே இருந்து அதே மாதிரி மற்ற இப்ப ரோட் அன்னைக்கு தமிழ் பேசணும்னு சொல்லி அதே கேட்டீங்களா மற்றது உடல் அதை தாங்கலாம்னு சொல்லி அதே கேட்டீங்களா
எல்லா அமைப்புல இருந்து நான் உங்களுக்கு டாக்குமெண்டேஷன் காட்டலாம், இமெயில் காட்டலாம். எல்லா அமைப்புல இருந்து நாங்க காய்ச்சிருக்கிறோம். TGT, WTM, NCCT, UST PAC, US TAG இருந்து A to Z இருந்து எல்லாரோடையும் நாங்க ஓப்பனா டிரான்ஸ்பரண்டா கம்யூனிகேட் பண்றோம். எல்லா வேலை திட்டங்களும் பற்றி நாங்க அறிவிச்சிருக்கிறோம். அவையிலும் சில பேர் TGT நல்ல சப்போர்ட் தந்திருக்கணும், ருத்ரகுமார் நல்ல சப்போர்ட் தந்திருக்கிறார். So there are சில organizations
அவரே சொன்னாரு ICC போயிடலாம்னு சொன்னாரு.
அது சொல்லியிருக்கிறார். அது இல்ல, அதுக்காக நாங்க எல்லா செய்யற வேலை திட்டங்களும் எல்லாரும் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணணும் இல்ல. நாங்க ஏதோ ஒரு வழியில வேற வேலை திட்டங்களும் ஆனா ஒரு எக்ஸாம்பிள் ஜெனசைட் இந்த பில் 104ல ருத்ரகுமாரங்களுக்கு இமெயில் அனுப்பி கங்க்ராச்சுலேட் பண்ணி நாங்க செய்த வேலைகளுக்கு. சோ அதுக்காக எல்லா வேலை திட்டங்களையும் 100% சப்போர்ட் கிடைக்கணும். அவைண்ட அமைப்புலயும் வேற வேலை திட்டங்கள் இருக்குது. அவைகளுக்கு ஒரு வேற நோக்கம் இருக்கும். அவை வேற வழியில
அவையில எங்கிட்ட காசு வாங்கிக்குள்ள நாங்க இதுக்கானதான் செய்யறோம்னு சொன்னீங்கன்னா ஒரு ரூபாய் கூட அங்க பப்ளிக் பண்ண போறீங்க. இன்னைக்கு இந்த ஃபவுண்டர் பிரசிடென்ட் அவரே கிட்டத்தட்ட அவ்வளவு பண்டை தன் ஓன் பாக்கெட்டுக்கு செலவு செய்து அவரே என்ன சொல்லி நாங்க கொடுத்த காசு 12 வருஷமா ஒரு காலத்துக்கு போட்டுருக்கோம்.
அதுக்குதான் நான் உங்களுக்கு சொன்னேன். என்ன சொன்னாங்க, நாங்க இந்த அமைப்பு ஆரம்பிக்கல, நாங்க மக்கள்கிட்ட போய் காசு வைக்கல. ஏன்னா எங்களுக்கு தெரியும் மக்கள் சனம் பின்பற்றி வைக்கிறவங்க ஒரே காசு கேட்டு நாங்க காசை கட்டிட்டு வேலை திட்டங்கள் செய்யாட்டி அதுவும் இருக்குல்ல. சோ அதுதான் இப்ப இந்த 1.5 வருஷம் 2 வருஷமா நாங்க
இல்லாம ஒரு பதிலை கொடுக்குற நேரம் இப்படியான பிரச்சனை கொடுக்கறதுக்கு ஏன்
நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி உண்மையா சொல்ல போனா இப்பதான் நாங்க காசு கேட்க ஆரம்பிச்சிருக்கோம். சோ இதுக்கு முதல் நாங்க ஒருத்தர் டைம் ஒரு தனிப்பட்ட முறையில ஒரு பர்சனல் முறையில நாங்க காசு போய் கேட்டுருக்கோம். என்னுடைய நண்பர்கிட்ட ஃப்ரெண்ட போய் எங்களுக்கு ஒரு 5,000 10,000 பட் ஆஃபிஷியலா நாங்க ஃபண்ட் ரைசிங் கேம்பெயின் ஆரம்பிக்கல. எனிதான் செய்ய போறோம். திஸ் இஸ் தி ஸ்டார்ட். We will anytime நாங்க கேட்போம். கட்டாயம் நாங்க கேட்போம்.
கேள்வி என்னென்றால் நீங்கள் போயிட்டு
காசுக்கு
அப்பதான் உங்களுக்கு முதலே தெரியும் ஒரு ஆர்கனைசேஷன் ஒவ்வொரு ஆர்கனைசேஷன் நாங்க படிச்சு அவையில அப்படி காசு அவையில அப்படி ஒவ்வொரு நாட்களும் நாங்கள் வச்சு சிடிசி எடுத்துக்கிட்டா சிடிசி அங்க உள்ள எங்களை ரெப்ரசன்ட் பண்றாங்க. நாங்கள் ரெப்ரசன்ட்
கதிரியார் ரெப்ரசன்ட் பண்றாங்க. கதிரியார் ரெப்ரசன்ட் பண்றாங்க. இல்ல அதுக்கு தேவையில்லாம 3 மில்லியனை கொடுத்து போட்டிருக்கீங்க. 30 மில்லியன்
அது வேற ரைட். அது கேன்வி, அது கம்யூனிட்டி சென்டர், தமிழ் கம்யூனிட்டி சென்டர்
ஒரு ஸ்டூடண்ட் வந்து காட்டணும். ஒரு ஸ்டூடண்ட் அந்த காலேஜ்ல படிச்ச அந்த தமிழ் படிச்சாங்க. இல்ல என்ன சொல்லுவாங்க சொன்னா இது எங்களுக்கு தேவையா தேவையானதுக்கு கொடுக்க தேவையில்லாம
நீங்க தான் கேள்வி கேட்கணும். நாங்க வேலை செய்யறோம், எங்களுக்கான கேள்வியை கேளுங்க. கேள்வி கேட்டாதான் நீங்க சொல்லுங்க.
இந்த குட்லாக்கு தெரிஞ்சபடியா தான் நான் கேட்கிறேன்.
சொல்லுங்க. சாரி
முடிஞ்ச வரைக்கும் இப்படியான இதை சொல்லி கேளுங்க. தேவையானது நீங்க அதை பாரதமா
நாங்கள் எல்லாரும்
நீங்க மட்டும் இல்ல, நானும் தான்
முக்கியமான வேலை. இதுக்கு பங்களிக்க வேண்டிய கடமைப்பாட இருக்கு. சரியா? இப்ப தமிழ்நாட்டால உருவாக்கப்பட்ட தமிழ் இலக்கியத்துல எங்கடையாக்கெல்லாம் கூட கண்டுபிடிச்சு கொடுத்தாரு. விஷயம் தெரியாம கொடுத்தாரு.
இதுல விமானம் என்னென்றால் ஒருத்தரும் மாத்தில எந்த ஆர்கனைசேஷன் மாத்தில உங்களுடைய மக்கள் தான் சேர்ந்த மக்கள் இயக்கமாகத்தான் கொஞ்சம் கொஞ்சமா தான் தம்பி நாங்கள் செய்யலாம்.
That's a good point. So this now. So you said you approached the legal process to go to ICC, and you're all the same doing the same effort. Okay. So we are a pool of limited resources, and if you go to any organization, NVC, EPC, or whatever, all the hell, like we have millions of organizations. you go anybody, everybody going to complain about we have limited resources, we have limited funding, everything limited. So my suggestion is, why don't you do just sort of, you have thousands of items, I mean, efforts, there are plans. So why don't we just start as a delegation of duties? So just talk to all the stakeholders. You say you're engaging with the stakeholders, like
Yes.
Pearl, USCAG,
Everyone.
USPB, TDP, APC, BTF,
Yeah,
and ABC, that everything. So GTF, there's another.
Okay, or a key point, நான் engaging with stakeholders ன்னு சொன்னா, I left out a very important point. Not all of them are engaging back.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
No,
so that's the key,
no,
that's the
but
point.
point, what he made, exactly that's what I'm coming now.
Yeah.
Because we have limited resources, limited funding. So we have so much of work ahead of us. So now it's a delegation of duties with the stakeholders, just engage them and say them, just one organization, you focus on certain activity, and other organization, you focus on certain activity. Then it's a global forum. Then just make this a public.
Yes.
Okay, then made as a public, then expose the organization. If you're not succeeded, if you cannot succeed, continue to do that, then expose the organization, because public should know what's happening. You cannot keep it these secret. All these organizations are working for the benefit of the people, the benefit of the Elam county. So these are not our personal business.
No.
So when she put it this forward, so each organization should have put that in public, saying that this is what we're doing.
Yes.
So if it fail to consolidate an effort, then that has to be exposed back to the public too. So that's where public can educate. That's my point.
நான் like ஒரு
Can I
important
say
point.
something?
ஒரு 1 minute, ஒரு important point என்னன்னா, I'll make a point, then you guys can go. Okay, I promise. Okay. ஒரு important point என்னன்னா, இந்த 18 போன
இத்துடன்
கடந்த
எமது
18
நேரடி
மாசம்
ஒளிபரப்பு
I don't want to say நாங்க underground ஒர்க் பண்ண வேண்டியதில்லை. ஒரு குவைட்டா வேலை செய்யறாங்க, because we want to show some productive work, and then for that we're engaging publicly. Like இப்போ உண்மையா சொல்ல போனா, Canada, this is the first public meeting I'm holding showing all of our work on a public forum. We hosted some webinars and high-level summary program, but in the detail so we're starting, because now we are confident that we've accomplished a lot in the last 18 months, and our confidence of actually we can go out and demand that respect, demand that support.
It's a huge start. And it just not a
No, it's not.
So, and then if you put it organization, all that about budget of it, like